Yo, 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 what is going on, guys? We are here, Real Fans FC, Concacaf Nations League semifinals wrap up. Just want to kind of cover into it, talk about it a little bit with Julian. Listen, guys, this was honestly probably one of the most exciting, entertaining, just Will Smith, I think, is the perfect name to describe the CONCACAF semifinals. I mean, listen, it was incredible, man. Obviously, to see my boys be able to fight and go through it. Listen, if you're listening on any of our audio platforms or anything, please subscribe, like this video, check it out, hit that notification bell button. Keep up in tune with us. Keep checking us out. We love the support. We love to hear back from you guys, and we'll keep it going. Julian, overall thoughts? Big CNL. Last one before the World Cup. We will not see another edition of this until after the World Cup. What are your overview thoughts?
I think this tournament was great, and it makes the Confederation so much more interesting now. I think coming out of all of this, the one thing that is hitting that came to my mind was that CONCACAF is wide open and probably the most wide open it has ever been. It is the most competitive. It is the most wide open, and it is the most entertaining, I think, that this Confederation has ever been. And I'm glad to see the Confederation slowly progress and more teams get better. Instead of it being a 2-team or a 3-team race, it's now a 4-team, and you could arguably say up to a 6-team, maybe even 7 if you want to throw Honduras in there as a competitive team. But like when you look at the likes of from United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, you go up to Costa Rica, Jamaica. Like I said, if you want to throw 100, like it is super competitive. Like every team is really good. Now, obviously, you're going to have the likes of the United States that are going to probably have the biggest player pool and all this other stuff. And same goes for Mexico with the history and that just their formula and their fan base just taking over stadiums. But I am just so happy to see the Confederation as a whole get better and get really good and entertaining, and not just this 2-horse race anymore, or even a 1-horse race for a long time, if you consider Mexico and its dominant run for many years. But yeah, that's kind of like my first impressions after everything. And I think it's just really exciting for the future. And I think I just want to say for all like the USA or Canada fans that want to trash the other teams and just hype up, because like, bro, get a little educated, learn about the other teams in CONCACAF. Don't just live in your own little bubble. I get it. But like, don't disrespect one team and then be a hypocritical when you say, oh, this is the worst confederation, we should dominate it. But then the moment another team gets good and beats you, you say it's a fluke and it's stupid. So it's like, pick a lane. Do you want the confederation to get better and teams to be able to actually compete with you? Or do you just want to dominate? Which, look, I'm not going to say you should be upset if your team lost, like rightfully so. But to just completely trash, to act like you lost to, no disrespect to, but like St. Martin, it's like, come on, dude. Like, let's be real. Like St. Martin, but just embrace the fact that the same way they all embrace Canada for getting better just because of the players or where they play. Embrace the fact that these other countries are getting more competitive. Guys like Jamaica, which maybe Jamaica is not a good example right now because they're not playing well, but teams like Panama and Costa Rica and so on and so forth. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this window. And I'm excited for the Gold Cup. It's a great send off to the Gold Cup.
Yeah, I agree with you real quick. Before we touch into the 4 games, the semifinal, third place in the final game, Julian, I think that gap, like you said, it's getting smaller. Listen, at one time, a year or 2 ago, even maybe a year and a half ago, it kind of just seemed like Panama, Canada, United States, and Mexico were kind of just setting off to the sunset, and almost like a 3-horse-legged race between Canada, Mexico, USA, and Panama was just there, but just underneath them. Respectfully, my boys were there, but they were right behind them. And it just seemed like the 3 of them were kind of just taking off to the middle of the air and just kind of going off. I think Panama not only made a statement for ourselves, but for the rest of CONCACAF. CONCACAF is growing as a whole, like Julian said. CONCACAF itself is growing integrally. I mean, the cohesiveness between a lot of these different teams and the unions and the regions itself, it's getting better and better, and it's only going to keep getting better and better. So for a lot of these teams, and especially, I said it, a lot of my Mexican friends after that game and before the game, This is not the same Panama. This is not the same Jamaica. This is not even the same Suriname that you faced 10 plus years ago or 5 plus years ago. These are newer teams that are building better every single day. Proud of the guys. We'll talk more about it. Speaking of these games, though, let's get into our semifinals, though, Julian. First one I want to break off, first one of the day, Panama, USA, my boys, Los Canaleros, Terry Henry's second nationality, if you want to call it, a dual nat now for us. Listen, dude, 1-0, Panama. The tactic was clearly play the low block, play back, absorb the pressure. Hey, give the ball to Josh Sargent and say, listen, you've never been good with the U.S. You're not going to be good against us. Farina, Cotto, Cordoba, and Harvey block them down. I mean, it was – do you think it completely worked, Julian, or could it have been something better from the Panamanians?
Yeah, I want to say the MVP of that game to me was Thomas Christensen. I don't think no one in particular played well for Panama or the United States for that matter. I thought both teams were relatively sloppy, especially that first half. I think things started to clean up a little bit into that second half. But in general, I thought the Panamanian game plan was perfect. I think Thomas Christensen went into this game realizing that he had to do something different. And I even talked about in our predictions in our preview, I'm like, have they gone as far as they can with Thomas Christensen? Is it worth? He did a great job bringing Panama to where it is now, but maybe you need somebody else to go forward. And now seeing what he's done and seeing what he's changed gives me even a little bit more belief in Thomas Christensen and his willingness to adapt and change. Because I've told you, Will, I was like, the moment Panama realizes that they're Panama, like they're going to play really well. Because for a long time, I mean, we saw it in the Copa America and against Colombia and Uruguay is like, you play great possession ball, but the talent's not quite there enough. So then when you play that higher level team, you're getting caught a lot of the times. But with this 5-4-1 formation, I believe allowed you guys to be defensively solid and then overload the midfield, which is where all your best players are in the midfield, and kind of make it difficult for teams to break down. And then also when you have that opportunity to be able to create and put chances forward. Now, the hardest part is the fact that you have probably the worst striker pool in all of Concacaf right now, at least the top of Concacaf, which it's brutal. I mean, having to choose between Jose Fajardo or Cecilio Waterman is a tough decision. And I've been in
Waterman
the ballpark
banger, baby.
And look, he showed up when he needed to. I thought Matt Turner was the dude needs to go somewhere and play because my God, he looks awful. He just continues to regress and regress. His positioning, his situational awareness, the guy, he's not where he was when he was in New England. And I don't think he was ready for the Prem. Like it was too big of a jump for him.
He wasn't ready for Arsenal.
And honestly, I don't think he was ready. I don't think he'll ever be good enough for the Prem, quite honestly. I mean, how many times and how many chances does he get before you realize it's just not his level? His level is maybe a league a little above MLS, something like the Belgium league, if he can go to somewhere like that, or maybe even the championship. But that's something, but it's a conversation for another day. I just thought this, in terms of the USA, this is just terrible, just sloppy, don't give a shit type ball. And it's just, God, it felt like they try to phone it in on Panama, like they didn't just lose to them in the Copa America. Granted, a lot of people want to say the red card and all this other stuff, but it's like, you want to show that you're dominant, be fucking dominant.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You were soft. You didn't do anything. And then I also don't think Poch is safe too. I thought the formations were kind of dumb. Granted, you had a ton of injuries, but at the end of the day, this team is still good enough to not just beat Panama, but to win the whole thing again. And I thought putting Christian Pulisic in the 10 position didn't work out. And I didn't understand why they didn't make changes at half. The Gio Reyna not coming in was a little odd to me, but maybe it proves that this guy has terrible attitude and he expects everything to be given to him, even though he's barely played at all. And I hope this kind of opens up a lot of the eyes of the USMNT fans that a lot of us outsiders have been seeing. And yeah, I mean, in terms of this game, I thought it was just a terrible, sloppy game. I thought the USA deserved to lose. I don't know what else to say. And then the Josh Sargent, he's done. Like how many chances do
He's
you
cooked.
get
He's
before
cooked.
you just have to look,
Bro's
at the
cooked.
end of the day, I hope what you know what, I'll save this for later when we go into the USA in the next game. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts of the
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Overall, literally what I have, Julian, is lack of energy, no fight, no hustle from the U.S. men's national team in this first semifinal game. This, like you said, seemed lackadaisical. Seemed like they almost went into halftime. And I don't know if you saw Poch. Speaking of Poch, I also want to add, I think that honeymoon phase is done. I think that's over with.
clearly
This
fourth
U.S.
place
men's
in the
national
Nations
team.
League.
Yeah, I think it was done before the third place game. I think this phase of, he's the this caliber coach. I think that's over with. Honestly, though, getting to my point with Poch was he goes into halftime, tells CBS Paramount Plus the Golasso show on a halftime show, we're playing good. We're playing good. Listen, for the U.S. perspective, obviously not being a U.S. fan myself, but if putting myself in their lens, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. If you know a team is going into low block, why are you not sending more numbers forward? Why are you not going out? I literally looking at the rosters, even during the game, two holding nines, or excuse me, not holding nines, but two back CDMs with Tanner Tessman and Tyler Adams. That it just doesn't make the most sense if you're trying to push up. Like you said, I literally have it on my notes here for the U.S. takeaways. No Diego Luna and no Gio Reyna. Listen, I understand the whole thing with Gio Reyna literally playing 2 to 3 minutes a game at Borussia Dortmund. The guy literally, I think the coach confuses him to be a water boy at times when he's on the bench. So it's kind of like, Gio Reyna's not getting the most minutes, but it is still one of these guys that has stepped up for the U.S. men's national team. Like you said, at the end of the game, I think the goalkeeper role, the center back role, that partnership, Tim Ream is just, you can just see his age gap. I mean, it's really getting on him. He's playing at Charlotte. He doesn't even play a true center back at Charlotte. He plays more in a left back position. It's getting to him. I will say, though, Panama takeaway, speaking more in the positive from this perspective of my guys, I think you said it well, Julian. I think Thomas Christensen is the second coming of Christ. I mean, this guy is absolutely incredible. Listen, dude, everybody in Panama was saying it. Please don't ever leave. Please don't ever leave. I think the tactics, like you said, dude, I would kind of almost rephrase it in a way. Not that we don't think we can't play like Spain or we can't play like a Belgium or an England, but we look at other teams and we don't look at other teams as a Barbados or a Guyana or, with all due respect, Bermuda, stuff like that. We look at these teams and say, this is a high caliber team. This is a high quality offense, high quality midfield, and a solid low block defense. So these are the types of teams that can beat us. We can't just go in there, like you said, and thinking we can just run the floor with them. And that's what we thought. And that's the type of mentality we had. Also just go in and, like I mentioned, shout out to them. Big stocks up after this game. Carlos Harvey, Coto Cordoba already had it. Farinha really is pushing it. A lot of these guys are really going. They're showing that they are true center backs. Carlos Harvey, listen, man, we'll get into it later, but this whole tournament has been lights out incredible, lights out beautiful. This is a serious team. I think after this game, I literally, Cecilia Waterman, dude, I don't know if we can call him Panamanian now, Terry Titi Henry, but that whole celebration was incredible. That honestly brought a tear to my eye. That was beautiful to see, amazing to watch. Proud of the guys. But yeah, a serious team, a serious threat in CONCACAF to really be dealt with. But I do want to roll into the next semifinal. And Julian, I want you. I got really just a lot of different things I want to hear. I really want to hear what you have to say. Mexico, Canada. Obviously, Mexico comes out on top. 2 goals by Raul Jimenez in the first minute and in the 76th minute via free kick. Julian, was this meant to happen? Or I don't want to say meant, but was this like in the making? Was this Raul's breakout game? What was Canada's game tactic? What did they lack?
For me, what Canada lacks and what they continue to lack, and they have for a while, is they don't have a true playmaker in the midfield or even a guy who can help hold possession. And I think where Canada really struggles is making those chances for Jonathan David. I think what Jonathan David's been able to do with what he has behind him is honestly incredible. And not to say that he has bad midfielders behind him, but they're not the mid. It's kind of the same as the USA situation where, like, while Tyler Adams, Johnny Cardoso, McKennie, all these guys are good, they're not what you need to really unlock. They're not the type of like profile that you need to unlock the striker in front of you. And right now, Canada, the only person they really have that can do that, and he's not really at that level anymore, probably never was Jonathan Osorio. And they try to play the swing play. And while I love their wingers and Alistair Johnson, obviously Alphonso Davies, who's world class, one of the best players in his position in the world, I don't think they're producing enough for what the talent they have in terms of goal scoring. And I don't know what they need to do. Maybe they just start throwing bodies out there, but they need to find somebody who can at least find their Diego Luna, find their guy who can help assist. Because Kyle Larin, the two striker system, I don't think Kyle Larin's just. I'm surprised Kyle Larin's even in La Liga right now. This guy is not a La Liga level striker at all. They need some, and that's what I think Canada's been lacking, and it's going to continue to probably hurt them in trying to get over that hump. Because while I like their wingers, I like Buchanan. I honestly, from what I've seen of Ali Ahmed, I think he's been pretty good in Vancouver. They're not necessarily. They're both one-on-one guys. They're not necessarily the both. Really kind of unlocking and breaking down that mid block that Mexico tend to have. Camera shut off for a second, but. In general, though, I think Canada just needs to find somebody, figure out that spot. And that's why I think Mexico ultimately ended up winning the game and the tournament as a whole. Is, to me, in all those four teams, they seem to be the most complete and most cohesive on all levels in terms of the goalkeeper and Luis Malagón playing well, Cesar Montes playing lights out, and in the back line, the midfield, obviously you have the likes of Alexis Vega, and then Edson Alvarez and Chino Huerta, and all that. They've been able to kind of have that. And then obviously Raul Jimenez, who's been just feeling himself. The dude's been on a tear. He's been playing so well, not just for his country in Mexico, but also at club. And he right now is probably the most complete striker. I don't think he's necessarily the best striker. I think that's Jonathan David's thing, but he just adds an element to the game that David, for example, doesn't have. His creativity, how good he is with the ball at his feet, kind of opening things up for Santi, who was pretty ghost, not terrible, but he didn't do a ton really. And he's been kind of on a little bit of a dry streak, even with Milan. But yeah, in terms of this game, to me, I thought Mexico just seemed to have a better game plan. And I just thought they deserved to win this game. I thought Canada just were kind of forcing a square peg into a round hole, it felt like.
Yeah, dude, literally looking at my notes, going off real quick off the overall game takeaways. I agree, dude. Listen, Canada, just not enough shots off, just not enough from the Canadian offense. You know, kind of similar in a way to the U.S. Offense, or just similar to the U.S. game tactic in that first semifinal against Panama. Just listen, possession's good, possession's great, but possession's not going to win you games. You know, we'll talk more about that even in the semifinal for the U.S. men's national team, but just not enough in that aspect. Also got Mexico defense locked in. Mexico defense took advantage of set pieces. I mean, dude, they were incredible. Obviously, looking at the Mexican takeaways in this game, Raul Jimenez, dude, the menace. Julian, you already hit on it. Listen, man, guy is on top form right now. He's crushing it. He's going crazy with it. I think Vasco Aguirre also has brought life back to this team. You know, you look at on the sideline, you look at the energy, and he's an older guy, an older coach, you know, not saying, but dude, Vasco Aguirre is just bringing some fire, man. He's bringing something that Diego Coca, Jimmy Lozano, and I mean, even Tata Martino, in a sense, Tata brought some heat, but he didn't bring the kick. You know, it was kind of like you're going to B-dubs and you're ordering the lemon pepper rub, and it's like, okay, I can smell it. You got a little bit of heat to it. It's a little bit of fire. But you taste it, and it's like, that's dry rub. That's not that bad. I don't really get that much kick to it, you know? So, dude, I agree. It's just like, listen, man, I think Vasco's brought a lot coming with them and whatnot. Big stock ups for Mexico in this game. Piojo Alvarado, Lira in the midfield at holding defense, paired up with Edson. I thought he shut down Kyle Larin. Granted, to be fair, it was Kyle Larin, but I think he completely shut down Larin and Ismael Kone, anybody to create anything to get past them. Johan Vasquez had a massive game as well. Canada takeaways before we move on to the third place and first place match. You know, yet again, since 2001, the Canadians have failed to reach a CONCACAF trophy. All we heard before this tournament, Julian, was the CONCACAF Kings. This is the new generation. Promise David, Jonathan David, Kyle Lauren, Fonzie Davies. You guys are not ready. You guys don't have a clue what's coming at you. Well, we do. You lost 2-0 in that game. All due respect. Canada, now, does that mean Canada's a ghost team? No. Does that mean that Canada's a horrible team? No. Does that mean that Canada can't play soccer? No. That doesn't mean any of that. All that means is the Canadians have not still won a trophy since 2001 Gold Cup. Last time they lifted silverware. So I think it's simple as that. You already hit on the point, Julian. Kyle Lauren went ghost completely this game. Ismail Kone had an interesting one. Alistair Johnson, not the best night for the young man. You could really tell it was a rough one for him. Also, that center back duo.
Yeah, he had a couple terrible calls. He probably could have got sent off.
Johnson could have got sent. Bito could have got sent off. I mean, that early yellow that he had on on Raul Jimenez kind of just confused, I think, him for the rest of the night and kind of set him back a little bit. I just think Jesse Marsch was, I'll be quite honest, I think that was one of the first few times, other than the Argentina games last summer, and they lost both of those 2-0 in the Copa America. I think that was the first real environment where they had the entire fan base against them. It just kind of seemed like they were pushed back on their heels, weren't exactly what too sure to do. Loud crowd, SoFi Stadium, Nations League semifinals, just not enough from the Canadians. Hate to say it. Good team. They're going to be back. We'll see. But let's move on, though. Third place game, Julian. I want to go ahead and roll real quick with it. U.S. men's national team, Canada. Obviously, maybe the matchup a lot of us had going into the final didn't work out. It still ended up working out in the sense that they played each other. But in a third place game, Julian, what are your biggest keynotes, takeaways from this? U.S. sloppy still. Again, what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything everybody else has been saying, except I disagree on some of them, is that it's such an entitled group of players that this U.S. men's national team is. And I've been hearing some people talk about it, and I kind of feel the same way. And I'm like, this is kind of the environment and what's culturally been built in this country in terms of this pay-to-play system and basically a lot of suburban well-off kids. It's fostered in an environment where kids or players are not pushing themselves. They're not going above and beyond and treating it like the end all be all. And they're just kind of phoning it in, it feels like. And when you look at these players, whether it be Mexico, Panama, these other, they had to fight. Even the USA, like in the early 2000s and the Dempsey and the Donovan eras, they constantly had to prove themselves.
Eddie
of
Johnson,
who they are, whether it be like Clint Dempsey or whoever it is. And even if you look at the likes of Mexico, even though Mexico was dominating, there was still that pressure from the fan base where not only playing in Liga MX was good enough, you had to play overseas and be like a Rafa Marquez or Chicharito, whoever like that. And I think while the U.S. has made great strides in player development and making the U.S. national team the best player pool in the Confederation right now, you can't help but look at the effects of what this pay-to-play system and just this like no heart having way of just. I mean, we saw it a couple years ago with the whole Gio Reyna and Greg Berhalter scandal and all that. Yeah, it's just this stuff that's lingering, where you don't have these guys that just this no nonsense attitude. You just have these guys. And another one too, I heard Terry Henry speak about it. They're trying to force Christian, not just the team, but also fans, that Christian Pulisic is this like leader dog that Clint or Donovan or Tim Howard was, but he's not that guy. And he's not. It's okay to accept that. Not everybody is that guy. Messi's not that guy. But stop trying to necessarily force that on him. And that was something I thought that Terry Henry said that really spoke to me. I'm like, and I've always kind of felt that way. Even watching him play at Milan, he's not a very outspoken guy. He's not. So stop trying to force that on him when he doesn't really want to be that. But granted, who does want to be that on this team? Shit, I'm at the point where I'm like, give Diego Luna the fucking armband, because that was the only guy in this game that I'll take that back. I think Tim Weah showed some fucking heart in that game too. Tim Weah and Diego Luna. And it seems like the only players that seem to be giving a damn on the USA team are the foreign players or the dual nats, the ones that they had to recruit over here that come from, which kind of leads more into that cultural aspect. And yeah, but in general, in terms of the game, it was sloppy.
Yeah.
The defensive situation is the thing is that there's talent there, and somehow they're not like piecing it together. I still think a lot of it is due to I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the player call-ups that Poach made, but it still goes into I didn't like the formations. Like I don't understand why they started off putting Christian in the 10 position again, putting Luna in the wing, which I know Luna plays for the wing for club, but he's a guy who can easily fit inside the middle without an issue. Weston McKennie was pretty much ghost again. I feel like this. I don't see much from him, and then it's just not being able to fit and make that final pass into the game, which only happened one time. And I think this team and they need to understand that and come to the realization. And I told you this like a couple years now since you first came on the show. The U.S. men's national team has to understand that while they have all this talent and that they want to be a more free-flowing European style type club, they just don't have the talent to be that and play the possession ball. And I've been saying it for literally 3 years now since the World Cup. This team needs to play transition ball. Play physical, play tight, and hit them on the fucking counter as fast as you can because you got track stars on this team that can fly. Yeah. You got Timothy Weah. You got Anthony Robinson. You got Serginho Dest when he's healthy. Flo Balogun. Pep. Why are you trying to play this possession ball when you don't have it? I'm sorry, Tyler Adams is not the most technical player. Tony Cordosa is not the most technical player. Yeah. Weston McKennie can be, but for USA, he's not really so much. I think, and then the thing too is like you can play that shit against Panama. You can play it even against Mexico and Canada. But what happens when we get to the World Cup when you start playing real big dogs? You're going to see the same thing that happened in 2022 against the Netherlands. You got schooled and you got outclassed because you just don't have the talent that you think you have. And what made that 2014 squad for the USA so fun and so crazy to watch was that they played strong. They beat them. They played more physical. The USA used to have this identity of being physical and hard-nosed, and they're not. Now, I'll switch over to Canada real quick and just cover them. Kind of the same thing that I feel. Like, I don't think nothing much has really changed with how I felt with them in the Mexico game versus this game. I just thought the USA is just I just think the USA is just a worse team in this tournament. So they happened to kind of win this game on that sense. I might get a little flack for this. I'm not the hugest, biggest Kone fan. I'm not super high on him. I don't necessarily see the hype. I think he's okay, but it's the same thing though. There's just no creativity in the middle. I think they force a lot on the wings, which makes it really tough. If they could just have a guy who can unlock it, that'd be good. But they're another team where I think they're trying to play possession ball, but they just don't really have it. Oh, and then lastly, Jesse Marsh is acting like a fucking child and just wanted attention. That was ridiculous. I don't care what you say. To act like a fucking child, get a red card, and you didn't even see the damn replay? Yeah. It's like, come on, dude. You watched that replay, and it was the clearest no call imaginable. I didn't know at first because obviously you can't tell in the live action. But, like, to throw that's like Xavi Hernandez type shit for Barcelona to kick the board. At least he had more of a reason. But like that, I mean, what is like? And I'm gonna go out and say I don't necessarily think Jesse Marsh is that great of a coach. I think he's okay. I don't think
Jesse Marsh is, in his defense, I think he's trying to play this Canadian hockey man role. I think he's trying to bring this team spirits up. I think honestly, dude, he is like what John Herdman was trying to be, but Jesse Marsh is just 5 inches taller and American. You know, that's the only difference. I really think he's trying to bring the energy. Listen, I agree with you, dude. I think even Marsh himself saw that and just wanted to, dude, he just wanted to rile the team up. Well, maybe not, but I think, dude, like I said, not defending it full on, but in Jesse Marsh's perspective, he's trying to rile that team up. And did he get that team riled up? Hell yeah, he did. 10 minutes later, Jonathan David runs down the field, bosses up Mark McKenzie, and scores a goal. I mean, dude, listen, I think Jesse Marsh is that type of guy. I think that's the type of energy he wants. Overall takeaways, though, real quick, I'll hit on it. Julian, you already really covered it. U.S. sloppy, U.S. no heart for the badge, U.S. not pushing. I really want to throw a name that you were mentioning about with Landon Donovan, Howard, and Dempsey back in that era. Eddie Johnson, man. This is a kid that grew up from nothing. Eddie Johnson grew up literally in the streets. This is a guy that had nothing. If I'm not wrong, I want to say he grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, around that area. Not the most. His father was in and out of jail, went to the Seattle Sounders Academy. Then he went to DC United. This guy was a baller. This guy, the streets will never forget this man. The man was an absolute freaking baller. You don't have a type of Eddie Johnson guy, maybe a little bit with a Diego Luna, a Timothy Weah in a way. But also Timmy Weah, all due respect, I mean, he's privileged. He literally sucker punched a Panamanian player, Roderick Miller, last summer in the face because he got annoyed, you know? So it's
the
just
thing
types
too,
of things.
And I don't even want to make it so much socioeconomic, but like even too, like you look at that past generation, no matter what their background was, they felt a need to prove themselves as an American player. It's because back then they didn't necessarily have. Now MLS is sending all kinds of players out there, which is great. But back then, that wasn't that often. So you had to really prove yourself as an American player in 2013, 2014, and even farther back, obviously. So there was that on your shoulder where like people didn't respect you. So it's like, all right, now we're going to turn the fuck up. Even Mexico didn't respect you, even though you were winning tournaments before then. Oh, and then one last thing I want to end, and I'm pretty much done with the USA thing, was I believe the reason why Diego Luna was the only one, well, and Timothy Weah, but I'm mostly talking in Luna sense. The only reason why he was the only one that showed some balls out there and showed some heart and actually wanted, because he was the only one that earned his spot on the team recently. He is fighting for a spot that to me is completely up in the air, completely up for grabs because you have Malik Tillman who's done nothing to take that, even though Gio Reyna's hurt constantly. And then Gio Reyna, who with all the drama and all that's going on, this is a guy who's like, he sees an opportunity and he's taking it. And I think it's a good thing that you have a guy like him that is putting pressure on these guys that otherwise would have cushiony like jobs or spots on the team. I think Poach needs to at this point, I don't give a shit where you play. If you're playing well and you're nipping at somebody's heels at this point, this whole team needs a cultural change. And the only way you do that is by putting pressure on these guys that they're going to lose their spot. And maybe this was a wake-up call for Gio Reyna that, hey, we started this guy who's getting way more playing time. He's been playing really well, and they're about roughly the same age. I don't care where you play. This guy's playing well. He's less drama. He's fighting for the batch. He's fighting for it. And look what happened. He was the main contributor in the only goal that they had this entire tournament. So I think that's a big reason why he played, because that guy, he didn't have the comfort of knowing he was going to have a spot. He's like, if I don't show out this tournament, I may not get called back and for a while. And I want to make the 2026 World Cup.
Yeah. So, I think Diego Luna's, he's fighting just to make the 2025 Gold Cup. He realizes that the opportunities are limited in front of him. And like you said, Julian, you know, it's a hard road ahead. Not to get into it, obviously, takeaways, you hit on it, Julian. Possession ball is not going to win you a game for the U.S. men's national team. You can't just hold on to possession and just keep on running it and think that you're going to win the game. Canada, smart tactic. The wing play, obviously, they utilized that, did well. Getting into Canada takeaways real quick. Tenio Uyasi, man, listen, this is a guy I've always been kind of hot on. I've been riding him a little bit, obviously watching a lot of Minnesota United through Carlos Harvey, been able to see Tenny play quite often. This guy's a baller, man. This guy, him and Yeboah up top at Minnesota United, they're a deadly little threat in the MLS. Tanny's showed it already a couple times, if I'm not wrong. He scored about 4 to 5 goals and about 6 to 7 caps with the Canadian men's national team. Those aren't bad numbers. He's 24 years old. I don't know if he can make a big move this summer, maybe go somewhere, kind of spice it up. I don't know, maybe a new club. We'll see. Tanny's good. Big ups to him. Joe David shows up when you need him, shows out. Like you said, Julian, I think personally for me, Joe David is the best player in CONCACAF right now with all of Raul Jimenez, all the attributes. That's great. I think Raul Jimenez is getting there. I think he's second place right now, not to get into that, but Joe David, great again for him. Like you said, the Jesse Marsh thing was interesting. I thought that was a little boost up call for his boys. U.S. men's national team takeaways, and then we'll get to the final. I really want to hit it, dude. Like you said, this is a privileged team. I think these guys, listen, I hate quoting Alexi Lawless. I hate agreeing with him in general because he's not right a lot. And he's this old unk that,
he's too much of a homer.
He's too much
way
of a
too much of a homer.
He's this 80s guy. I feel like he's that type of guy to walk into a 4th of July party and be like, hey, guys, you didn't turn off the barbecue. And it's like, hey, Lawless, we're cooking the burger still. And he's like, I don't care. You could cause a fire. You could do this. You could do that. And it's just kind of like, oh, my God, we got Unk walking in the building again. Lawless talks a lot like that. But I want to hit a quote, kind of like you were talking to Terry Henry's quote. Listen, dude, Lawless said straightforward. I got it pulled up right here. I'll kind of just summarize it because it's a longer quote. He just said, this is a privileged group of egotistical guys and tattooed football players between the ages of 18 to 27 years old who believe that they just have everything given to them, anything that they want given to them, don't play for the badge, and don't have honor. Julian, let's be real. Panama, Nicaragua, Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica. Hell, you can even throw some of the Caribbean islands, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, these islands, Jamaica, all these countries in CONCACAF, and we'll keep it within CONCACAF, play for their, excuse my French, they play for their fucking badge. They get up and they see their name called on the national team. They know it's an honor, a privilege, and what we say in Spanish, un orgullo. Un orgullo. For these guys, it's, oh, hell yeah. Hey, Mom, I got a flight to LA. I got to go catch. I'm about to go get ready. Turn me up. Let's go. It's just a whatever type of vibe. It's a, yeah, I've been there. I've done that. I think the U.S. men's national team, one word to really say, I wouldn't say selfish, is lazy. Lazy. This tournament was lazy. They just wanted ball possession. You got ball possession. You lost both of your games. They just wanted to kind of ease their way into the Final Four, kind of maybe try to pass their way in there. You were able to do that. You got no shots off, though. You didn't convert. You scored 1 goal in 2 games. The U.S. men's national team has a lot of questions, a lot of problems going into this World Cup. Realistically, all I'm going to say is the 2025 Gold Cup, this upcoming summer, is their last opportunity to really see and to test out players. And all I have to say is, every country, we are going to microspect, and we'll talk more about this later on the pod, is every country has different goals. For the U.S. men's national team, their goals are not the same that Costa Rica has. Their goals are not the same that, and my boys as well, Panama has. Their goals, and the U.S. fans have made this very, very clear, is to make a quarterfinal or further. Julian, let me ask you real quick before we get to the final. Is this a quarterfinal team? Are these guys going to make the quarterfinals
this team,
of the World Cup?
This team gets grouped.
Yeah, gets grouped. I agree.
It gets grouped. And, I don't know who said it. It was one of the big pundits for the U.S. team, and I agree with them completely after they said it, and it was a great point that they made. I don't know if it was Dempsey or Lawless. I don't remember who it was, but they were basically like previous USMNT generations viewed playing for the U.S. as the pinnacle of American soccer. They viewed it as like, this is the top of the top. They viewed it as like the same way like you're playing basketball and the pinnacle to you is playing in the NBA. He's like, that's how we viewed playing for Team USA. And I think these players, they're just viewing of like, they don't view they feel, it almost seems like they view it as like a part-time job.
A second
and
club.
That their club is their pinnacle. That's who pays us. I want to be in the Champions. I want to lift the Champions League trophy. I want to play for Real Madrid, AC Milan.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play in the Prem. I think they value that more than I want to try to win a Copa America. Mm-hmm. I want to make it the farthest any CONCACAF team has ever made. I want to be the next Morocco in the World Cup or the next Croatia. I don't think they have those aspirations, it feels like.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
And then that's what that commentator said. But yeah, let's move on to the final. I think we've beaten this USA dead horse.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, honestly, overall thoughts, I want to kind of hit you with a couple, Julian. Then I got a couple questions I want to ask you, man. Mexico, Panama, biggest takeaways. Panama, I want to start off with my guys, man. And I want to take a quick minute if it's cool, Julian. And I just want to say this real quick about these guys. And excuse my French again for everybody listening, under 18, cover your ears.
We've been dropping a lot of F-bombs over here.
I am so fucking proud of you guys. I am so proud of the style, the fight, the grit, the honor, everything that the U.S. men's national team did not do. You did. I'm so proud of you guys. You went in there. Everybody said you're a bunch of scrubs. Oh, why are you in this tournament? How the hell did you get here? Aren't you guys a bunch of farm workers? Wow, you guys got a guy playing over in Kazakhstan or in Azerbaijan, whatever the hell we play in. I am so
Bob,
proud.
get your strays
God
here.
damn proud of you guys. Yeah, these are quotes that Julian has said, by the way. But dude, I am just so proud of the overall aspect. Listen, so many people, they don't have their center back depth is short. They don't have a lot of good center backs. Kuti Mosquera is not a firm goalkeeper. Who the hell's going to play left back? They don't really have midfielders other than Coco Carrasquilla. Who the heck is a 9? They don't have 9. All these questions did not get answered. I'll be real. We're still looking for a 9. We still need another center back to help out for the depth. That's the truth. But dude, so many questions I felt like for us were answered. We found out Carlos Harvey is legit. He can play center back, and he's a damn good center back. We found out Jorge Gutierrez at the left back position. Eric Davis, love you. You were a legend. You're incredible. Got us to the 2018 World Cup. Time to step aside. Jorge Gutierrez, let's go, baby. All full steam ahead. Let's keep it rolling. That was beautiful. Midfield, Godoy, man, you shut my mouth up. You really did. I told you it was time to go. I said it was kind of step aside. Godoy, keep it with San Diego. Keep doing this for the next year and a half. You're going to be getting a flight to the next World Cup, 100%, assuming we get there. God first. Listen, dude, and the rest of this team, Fulo Martinez, Coco Carrasquilla, Puma Luis Rodriguez, Cesar Blackman. I mean, incredible display. I'll go into it real quick. Obviously, breaking it down, takeaways, and I want to hear what you got to say, Julian. Dude, honestly, I had Panama legit team. Mexico bringing the pressure and caused errors. They forced errors. Genuinely, at the end of the day, I think that's why Mexico won the game. I think they were able to cause errors. Obviously, that Kuti Mosquera, Carlos Harvey, kind of an interesting situation. Kind of left Raul Jimenez wide open. Mosquera comes out of the net, finishes it away. Coto Cordova, you're still the GOAT to me. I love you, man. Listen, anybody else I want to say, anyone that has anything to say to Coto Cordova, just stop. Shut up. Stop talking. You don't know what you're talking about. That man was a freaking wall for us this entire tournament. He's a Norwich legend. He's going to keep balling out. He's 23 years old. Stop. Shut up. Be quiet. You don't know what you're talking about. Coto Cordova is going to be back. Julian and I know we've seen enough. Listen, dude, Mexico looks sharp. I have to say, though, also, unlike the U.S., I have this literally down in my notes. They're sharpening like a pencil right at the right moment, getting ready for the 2026 World Cup. I think Vasco Aguirre is bringing the vibes back. I think he's a big vibes guy, dude. I think they love him in the locker room. I don't think they look at Vasco kind of like, a Jimmy Lozano, who was a vibes guy as well, but it was almost like a Jimmy's my man. Jimmy, hey, Jimmy and me go eat carne asada on the weekends. We go hang out. Where with Vasco Aguirre, it's more of like a, hey, Vasco Aguirre, I want you to come to my, we're going to have my baby, my wife, we're going to have our baby shower, and I want you to bless the baby. I feel like they almost look at Vasco Aguirre as like a father figure. So they have that mutual respect with him. Obviously, I think it ended out for the takeaways of the game. I think it was a tale of two different halves. Panama dominated in that first half. We saw the flair, the connection of Puma Luis Rodriguez with Fulo Martinez, and to see how they were able to build up. Cecilio Waterman put himself in good positions, was able to draw the penalty. I think Panama dominated. I think the truth was we really were able to get out there. We punched Mexico straight in the face. I think they were able to hit a couple jabs, hit a nice little blow. Going into the second half, I think Panama's tactics changed up quite a bit. I think Mexico realized that. Raul Jimenez started pushing. You could see Edson Alvarez was pushing up the field. They bring on Chavez as well. So a lot changed in that second half. Obviously, later in the game, Mexico would end up getting that dumb penalty, of course, and going on to win the game. But Julian, I want to hit you real quick, though, before I give kind of final wrap-up thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. What are your overall thoughts from the game? Did you feel like the tactic could have been different for Panama? Is Mexico back? Is this official? Are they back? What are your thoughts?
One thing you say that I'd heard you say, I don't necessarily agree with. I wouldn't say that Panama dominated probably at any point, but I thought there was games where there's moments where they looked really good, but I wouldn't say they dominated like a half or anything like that. But they had stretches where they were really solid, specifically in the very beginning. But this leads to this game proved to me, while the USA game was a good wake-up call for why I like this formation for Panama, this second game even solidified it even more. And I don't know if it's because you guys have some players that play in the Liga MX like Bumita or Coco or Um, I don't know if maybe that they felt more comfortable, and maybe like the aura of playing the US maybe made them naturally a little bit more reserved. But in this
Yeah,
game, they felt like they're playing with more confidence. They're moving the ball forward. Coco came off super strong. Like to me, like the top three players in this game was Harvey, Coco, and Blackman. I thought Blackman was absolute
incredible.
class on the right.
Yeah,
Pumita had his moments where he was really good, and he had one really nice shot from outside the box. Fulo Martinez, he looked really solid. I thought this formation is perfect because the moment Mexico got the ball, you
hmm
immediately saw the back line of five, you immediately saw the line of four, and then you saw Cecilio up there ready to catch any clearance or anything. And how
yeah,
quickly they were able to shift back into formation and how it was drilled down. And to me, that's just a testament to how much those guys were able to respect Thomas Christensen's plan and game plan going into this,
yeah,
because they could have easily kind of strayed away from it naturally, but they were able to remain formationally disciplined. But the one thing, when you don't have that striker up top, and you need to just you got to grind out these 1-0 games, you got to be
yeah,
perfect. And sadly, there's two bad mistakes made by Panama from each one of
yeah,
the defender and the goalkeeper, that when you get in the game and you want to beat Mexico, a team that's probably better than you on paper, a team that's
hmm
experienced and have been here before and have won trophies countless times in CONCACAF,
yeah,
you got to be perfect. And it just wasn't enough. And I thought the
yeah,
reason why Mexico won this tournament was because at all levels, they seemed to be the best and the most balanced team
yeah,
in all of CONCACAF at the moment, because you have the strikers up top. The midfield is solid and it's decent. Whether you want to throw Alexis Vega in there, or if you want to throw Chino Huerta or whoever,
hmm
Edson obviously is a stud. And then like big plays, big slide tackles by Cesar Montes. Like I thought he was really good.
he
And
was
Luis
good.
Maligon just
Yeah,
playing clean, didn't really make any crazy mistakes. He almost got the pen. He almost blocked the penalty. Uh, I
his
was
foot
I
was
wasn't
close.
super high. I thought that was not a great penalty by Coco, but he got it done, so that's all that matters.
Yeah,
Um, but overall, I like Raul Jimenez. Like I was saying earlier, this guy's just playing with so much confidence. I mean, after that
hmm
pretty bad injury that he had to his head, he
yeah,
seems to be he probably feels like he's in the best form of his life, and he can keep on
yeah,
going. He's like, I don't care
yeah,
that I'm 35. I can play like Ronaldo and play till I'm 40. And look, man, guy got back-to-back braces. He's the, I believe, the fourth all-time leading goal scorer in Mexican history, and he's only
yeah,
about, I think Chicharito has 57 or something, 52 or something like that.
hmm
I think he's
hmm
like maybe 12 away. So if he keeps on this form, he could. The only thing that I thought Mexico was kind of missing was, I'm not super huge on Luis Romo. I think he needs to
hmm
go. I don't think he's the guy. Uh,
yeah,
I'm not super high on him. I would have liked to see Chino Huerta and Alexis Vegas on the field at the same time. I think that would have been kind of
hmm
interesting to see. But then Santi again, I just feel like is just kind of a kind of ghost. Like I just didn't see much from him. I mean,
he
he wasn't
he got a
bad.
more
He wasn't bad.
yeah, he had a couple more
But
chances this game.
it's a
Yeah,
guy that you want to see like this is a guy who's like your pride. He's like the future of Mexican soccer, and in the striker position, you
you
want this
you
guy
think he'll score
to
more?
take over.
Yeah,
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 you want him to take over games and be down. But I mean, I'm personally, I'm a Milan fan. I've been watching him play. He started off strong, but granted, the whole
hmm
Milan situation is really weird right now. But in
hmm
general, I thought Mexico was the better team this game. I thought they also was another team that I thought they executed their game plan. And honestly, I did not expect them. I mean, I coming into the preview, I was like, this is the type of game Mexico needs to play. Play to load a mid block, play two strikers up top. You got to find a way to get your two best players on the field and try to beat them on the counter. And you know what? They did
yeah,
exactly that. It almost validates me a little bit.
yeah,
but
yeah,
um but
yeah,
no, I mean that was the key to winning. And Javier Aguirre, I know that's not a Mexican staple to play two strikers, but he's like, look,
yeah.
we got to get our best players on the field, and that's what worked. Um and yeah, Reyes I thought was a fucking baller.
He looked good.
This game. He looked really good. So
He looked
I
good.
think this Mexico team's a little scary. I do think they're beatable though, but this is the
Yeah.
most cohesive and seems like the highest Mexican fans have been on Mexico for a couple years now.
For quite some time. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems
Yeah.
like they have a little bit more of an identity and a little bit more hope, it feels like.
Yeah. Dude, real quick, honestly, you kind of already took it away. I think you said it perfect, Julian. For the Mexico Panama takeaways game wise, like I said, they look like a pencil right now. And I think you just kind of ended it out. Mexico's kind of sharpening their pencil. Like you said, this cohesive unit that Vasco Aguirre is collectively building within the team is interesting. It's a more in-depth team, slightly, not by much, that they had 2-3 years ago. But they're starting to find out more little different pieces, and Alexi Vega could play there, a Chino Huerta. Listen, I'll say it about this team, and we talked about it earlier. Tim Howard really shouted out Panama. We're that type of team. We may not have guys playing in these massive clubs all throughout Europe of Real Madrid or Juventus or AC Milan or anything like that. But Panama will physically outbeat you. And I think that's something I will shout Mexico out a little bit. I think they're starting to get like that a little bit right now. Year or two ago, even 3 years ago, they were not like that. But I think realistically, Panama, I think we showed that. I think this was a very physical matchup. For me, the biggest, this is a staple, and we got to hopefully send it out. We'll show you guys. I don't know if the people watching remember this moment, but Carlos Harvey literally just bombards Chino Huerta to the ground. And that almost looked like more of like a sumo wrestling match than an actual soccer game. They're going at it. Harvey's telling him to get up, so it's a physical battle, and whatnot. But those are the big takeaways. I also do really want to shout, Mexican fans, please stop the chant. Please stop the chant. This has been going on for quite some time now. Listen, I understand, different people, different sayings, different countries. I get the dialect and all that, but FIFA's already made this very, very clear, don't be homophobic. That chant is homophobic in that sense. Don't bring it to the game. Leave that, with yourself. We don't need to be hearing that type of stuff. But on the positives, though, from the Mexican national team, the takeaways, like you said, Raul Jimenez is absolutely frightening right now. One of the most frightening strikers in the world. Guys in crazy form. Big stock up Piojo, man. Listen, we shouted out like Chino Huerta and we talked about them. Piojo on that right-hand side, I'll even say it. He did really good with Cordoba. I think he was able to handle Cordoba's pressure and his physicality, but he was able to go at it. Obviously Malagon, like you said, is legit. I think he's a solid goalkeeper, tricampeón with Club America, but overall though, with Panama, my final takeaways, and I want to hear whatever you got to say and we'll wrap it up, dude. Listen, exact same lineup. We rolled with Waterman instead of Fajardo, which a lot of people were interested with that one. Waterman did get the goal, and celebrated with his uncle Titi Henry. But, it was kind of like an interesting one in the sense of like Waterman's more of a second half type of guy. We've all said this a lot. A lot of people in Panama kind of would agree with that. So I think that was a very interesting and intriguing mix up. I will say, though, Julian, just want to let people know is not a Fajardo fan at all. This guy is
ass.
I literally think like, my 7-year-old cousin, if we substituted him in there, I think Julian would be more of a supporter than him, than Fajardo for the national team.
I don't understand, dude. I don't understand how he gets to start. When I get that, what is it, Herrera or Guerrero? I don't, that plays in Ukraine.
Gustavo Herrera. Oh, no, that's Guerrero. Yeah.
Guerrero. Put him in, dude. I don't get it. Like, at the end of the day, throw him in there. See what happens. Anything is better than Fajardo. That's all I got to say.
The thing is,
at the end of the day, Fajardo does not at the end of the day, this guy, he's playing in Ukraine. I don't know where the fuck Fajardo is. I know you know, but I don't know where the fuck this guy's playing.
He's in Ecuador. Yeah.
And I'm just like, this guy's old. He's not old. Technical. He blasts balls. He has no sort of touch or creativity. He's not accurate. This guy, I don't understand how he gets signed by teams. He's got you want to talk about Panama? Panama, they got agents because they managed to keep Fajardo to have a job, because that's a miracle and a half.
No, dude, okay. He's not that bad. Listen, I agree. Fajardo has his moments where everyone just scratches their head and they're like, how in the world has this guy ever gotten a soccer field before? It's incredible. But I have to say, though, it was incredible to see him come on in the second half. Little kind of final thoughts that I really want to take away with Panama. Strong-minded mentality. Listen, Tim Howard and Landon Donovan host a podcast. You guys go check them out as well. Shout them out. I think Tim Howard, quote unquote, I don't have the exact quotes, but I remember, said it, I think,
Howard
very well. Yeah, he does. But the thing is, he basically kind of talked about Panama prior to that game. And he pretty much said, he was like, man, listen, this Panamanian team and teams that we've seen in the past, like I said earlier, may not be the most technical, may not even be the most just better players on and off not off the field, but on the field, be able to outbeat you. But this is a team that can out physically play you. And not only that, match you physically, but they can mentally beat you. They're almost like, he even said it on his pod, they're almost like physical bullies. Like, they will get in your brain. They will do things to mess around with you. And myself being this, seeing, and have played a couple, not anything crazy, but pickup games within Panama, it is a true thing. Guys get in your head, guys get in your brain. It's just one of those psychological things. I mean, we see a lot of this in CONMEBOL, in other parts of the world as well. So I think that strong mindset of our Panamanian players really showed, not just only in this final game, but as well in the semifinal game against the U.S. men's national team. So, I think that's something to keep riding strong about our boys and to keep continuing going forward. Final things, I really want to hit on it again. We fall short.
I love you. Just keep on saying final things.
I got a couple more things, guys. Really, I was proud of these guys. I'll wrap it up with the final highlights. I really think we found a left back, dude. Jorge Gutierrez, the biggest one. Eric Davis, was injured, and people are saying, "Oh, we don't know." Eric Davis is 34 years old, plays in second division of Brazil. I just think it's time to move on. Love him. Took us to the last World Cup, 2018. Time to move over. Gutierrez step in. Tucho Valencia is another young kid in that role who can step up. Honestly, dude, I will say I really also liked the national team call-ups we had with the younger guys. Martin Krug didn't see a minute. Eduardo Cedeño also didn't see a minute. Tucho Valencia, Gustavo Herrera, Thomas Rodriguez as well. A lot of these guys didn't see any minutes, but the fact that they're being there, I think a lot of people, and we realize this is the new wave, this is the new generation. When Puma, Fulo Martinez, Coco, obviously Godoy, sadly, one day after the World Cup will move on. These are the new guys that we have to step up, move it forward. Really proud of them. Like I said, incredible job. Played super well. They were on their stuff. So, keep it going. Honestly, like I said, though, and to end it out real quick, Julian, like I always said, the goal was to never, it would be awesome to win a Nations League or a Gold Cup or this and that. The goal has always been from our fan base, qualify to the World Cup, make it competitive, and get out of the group stage and win our first game. That's the goal. That's realistic. We can do it. I think a lot of the people around the world we've earned the respect. We've shown what we can do. We're capable of it. Like you said, Thomas Christensen, this is the guy at the realm, baby. This is who we're putting our trust in, man. We're putting all the money in the bag, Julian. All the money in the bag with him.
Too, the experience as being a Costa Rica fan, even though, we haven't won a CONCACAF tournament in like 50 years or 40, however long it's been, when you make a splash at the World Cup, I will take that any day of the week over winning a Gold Cup, Nations League, or a Gold Cup. As much as I would love to win a Gold Cup, because I think we but like we should, like with the pedigree that our nation has had for decades, that they should win one, and it'll be a big deal to finally bring a trophy home. It's the only one we could realistically probably ever bring home, but like to make a difference in a World Cup, to get recognized, and to change your program forever. Because that's the thing, and we'll go into it more later, but like when you make a run in a World Cup, that changes the way people view your nation forever. So
because that's at the world stage. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
But anyways, that's it, guys. And if you guys enjoyed, this is a little bit longer than we've done in a long time, but there was a lot to cover. It's a big CONCACAF. We know this is our audience and what they love. So if you want to see more CONCACAF content like this, please feel free to like and subscribe to the content. And if you're listening on audio platforms, please leave a rating. We need to try to build that up. If you made it to the end, please, and you guys are watching on YouTube, go give us a follow on Apple Music or whatever it's called, Apple Podcast, and a Spotify. I want to try to grow that a little bit more. Maybe start doing some more ad rolls. You remind me to do that, Will. Start doing those in the middle of the thing so we can put.
We're going to get on those. We'll get on those.
But yeah. Anyways, we'll see you guys next one. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.